Be me, 34, director of operations at a rapidly scaling fintech startup in San Francisco. Office is open plan, exposed brick cold brew on tap, salary bloated with stock options. Company culture is obsessed with disruption and optimization. Managing a team of 60 developers, analysts, and customer success agents. Always felt that traditional management was subjective and inefficient. Hated annual reviews, where personality won over performance. Saw guys who spent all day at the water cooler get promoted because they were funny. Saw quiet grinders get ignored because they didn't play politics. Decided to fix this. Spent 6 months developing a proprietary internal productivity tracking system called Vector. Idea was to turn employee output into pure, undeniable data. Vector tracked everything: keystrokes per minute, lines of code committed, tickets resolved, time spent in active windows versus idle time, even integrated with Slack to analyze sentiment and response times. Pitch to the C-suite was simple: the meritocracy engine. No more bias, no more favorites, just raw performance metrics. CEO loved it, said it aligned with our radical transparency value. CTO was skeptical, asked how we quantify thinking time or creative problem solving. I argued that creative problem solving ultimately results in output. If you're thinking for 4 hours and produce nothing, you're not working, you're daydreaming. Got the green light to beta test on my own department. Rolled out Vector on a Monday morning. Sent an email explaining that from now on, all performance reviews would be algorithmic. Every employee would have a live Vector score visible on their dashboard. 0 to 100. Below 50 puts you on a performance improvement plan, PIP. Below 30 for 2 weeks is automatic termination. Above 90 gets an automatic spot bonus. Thought this would liberate the high performers. First week was chaos. People were terrified. Office went dead silent. No more chatting in the kitchen. No more long lunches. Just the sound of furious typing. Productivity metrics spiked by 40% in the first month. I felt like a genius. Showed the graphs to the board. Look at this efficiency gain. We're doing the work of 100 people with 60. First casualty was Marcus, a senior dev, 45 years old. Guy was a legend in the legacy code. Knew where all the bodies were buried. But he was slow. He'd stare at a screen for 3 hours, draw on a whiteboard, then write 10 lines of code that fixed a massive bug. Vector didn't see the bug fix significance. Vector saw 3 hours idle time and low keystroke count. His score dropped to 42. System flagged him for PIP. I called him into my glass-walled office. Showed him the dashboard. Marcus, your velocity is in the bottom decile. You're not committing enough volume. He tried to explain. I'm solving architectural debt, not churning out widgets. 1 line of my code saves the junior devs 3 days of work. I pointed to the screen. The data doesn't support that interpretation. The algorithm weights code volume and activity consistency. You're spending 60% of your day inactive. He got angry. Thinking isn't inactivity. I'm designing the system that keeps this company running. I told him to adapt to the metrics or leave. If you're really working, the system will capture it. Just type out your thought process if you have to. He refused to perform theater for a piece of spyware. 2 weeks later, his score hit 28. System auto-generated his termination letter. I signed it without hesitation. Felt like I was trimming dead weight. Marcus left, calling me a soulless bean counter. I told myself he was a relic who couldn't keep up with the pace of modern tech. Team was shocked. If Marcus can get fired, anyone can. Panic set in. People started gaming the system. Devs stopped refactoring code because deleting lines lowered their net contribution. They wrote bloated, verbose code to pump up their line counts. Customer success agents stopped solving hard problems. They'd cherry-pick the easy tickets to boost their resolution velocity. Hard tickets sat in the queue for weeks because touching them meant tanking your score. I saw the metrics going up and ignored the context. Scores are high. Company is moving fast. Lisa, my lead designer, came to me. She was crying, said she couldn't work like this. Design requires iteration, staring at blank pages, sketching on paper. Vector doesn't track paper. Her score was hovering at 55. She was logging into her computer at night and just moving the mouse around to bank active hours. She looked exhausted. I told her that data is the great equalizer. If you're working late, the system rewards you. She screamed at me. I'm not working. I'm jiggling a mouse so I don't lose my health insurance. This isn't productivity, it's fear. I dismissed her concerns as emotional resistance to change. You just need to find a way to digitize your workflow earlier. Make every sketch a file save. Adapt or die. She quit the next day. I posted her job opening with a requirement. Must thrive in a data-driven, high-velocity environment. Felt superior. We're weeding out the fragile ones. We're building a team of Navy SEALs. 6 months in, I was the golden boy of the executive team. We cut headcount by 15%, the low performers, while output, as defined by Vector, was up 60%. Board authorized a company-wide rollout. Sales, HR, marketing, everyone gets a Vector score. I was put in charge of the implementation, became the chief productivity officer, highest paid person in my tier, bought a Tesla, put a down payment on a condo in the mission. Felt like I had solved the human element of business. Humans are just buggy software. Vector is the debugger. Implemented the system in legal. General counsel, a woman named Alina, fought me hard. You can't quantify legal risk mitigation. If I spend a week preventing a lawsuit, I generate 0 documents but save the company millions. Vector will see 0 documents and fire me. I smiled the smile of the enlightened. Then document your risk analysis. Log your research hours. If the value is real, it can be measured. She looked at me with pure hatred. You're creating a monster. You're encouraging busy work over value. I overrode her. Legal got vectorized. Lawyers started filing useless memos just to keep their scores up. Internal inbox was flooded with spam because email sent was a metric. I filtered it all out. Look at the activity. The company is buzzing. Then the glitch happened. Not a software glitch, a reality glitch. Our codebase started breaking because the devs had spent a year writing bloated code to satisfy the line count metric. Technical debt was massive. System crashes were daily. But the devs had high Vector scores because they were frantically patching the bugs they created. Vector rewarded the patching. It saw high activity and rapid ticket resolution. It didn't track recurrence of same issue. I didn't care. My dashboard showed green arrows. Then the CEO called me in. He was looking at a new dashboard, one I hadn't built. It was the revenue versus operational cost chart. Revenue was flatlining, churn was up, product quality complaints had tripled. But Vector says we're working at 150% capacity. CEO asked, why is everyone working so hard but the product is getting worse? I explained there's a lag time. We're just clearing the backlog. The efficiency will translate to quality soon. He wasn't convinced. Said we needed to optimize the management layer. Asked me to tweak Vector to weigh strategic impact for directors and VPs. I said absolutely. I spent 3 weeks coding a new module, the Executive Index. It analyzed calendar density, meeting sentiment, and strategic document output. I designed it to be rigorous. Managers shouldn't be exempt. We need to lead by example. Rolled out the Executive Index. My own score appeared on my dashboard, 94. Felt vindicated. I am the model employee. Then a junior dev named Kevin approached me. Kevin was a quiet kid, hired right out of Stanford. He'd been studying Vector's code. He found a vulnerability. Not a bug, but a logic loop. He said, the system overweights communication volume. If you automate script updates to Slack and Jira, you can simulate 99 productivity with 0 actual work. I told him to patch it. He said, I can't. It's the core kernel. The system equates noise with signal. I told him to go back to work. Don't question the architecture, just maintain it. Kevin looked at me funny. 2 weeks later, Kevin's score shot up to 99. He was barely in the office. He'd come in, headphones on, leave at 3 p.m. But his output metrics were god tier. I suspected he was automating it. But Vector couldn't tell the difference between human keystrokes and scripted inputs if the timing was randomized. I couldn't fire him. The policy I wrote said, score determines employment. If I fired a 99, I'd undermine the whole system. So I let him stay. Then Kevin shared his script. On the blind, anonymously. Within a week, half the engineering team was using Vector Be Gone. Scripts that jiggled mice, auto-committed slight code changes, and generated AI-written status updates. Scores went through the roof. Office was silent again, but this time because everyone was watching Netflix while their scripts ran. I knew it was happening. I could feel the productivity drop, but the dashboard showed 100% efficiency. I was trapped. If I admitted the data was fake, I'd admit Vector was flawed. If I admitted Vector was flawed, I'd lose my job. So I doubled down. I announced a new update, Vector 2, biometric integration, eye tracking through webcams. To ensure focus, people revolted. HR received 40 formal complaints in 1 day. Alina from legal called me. This is a privacy nightmare. We're going to get sued. I told her to look at the metrics. We need to ensure data integrity. She said, you're insane. You're treating humans like servo motors. CEO backed me up. He was desperate to fix the product issues and thought more oversight was the answer. We turned on the webcams. Morale collapsed completely. People put tape over their cameras. Vector flagged them as away. Scores tanked. I fired 10 people that week for insubordination and low visibility, including my own assistant, who covered her camera to pump breast milk. I told her, the policy is clear. Camera blocked equals idle time. She left crying. I felt a twinge of guilt but shoved it down. Process over person. Then the board intervened. They hired a consultant to audit our culture crisis. Consultant was an old-school management guru. Walked around the office, saw the fear in people's eyes, saw the tape on cameras, saw the meaningless graphs. He wrote a scathing report called Vector, a digital panopticon that stifles innovation and incentivizes fraud. Recommended immediate suspension of the program. I was furious. I wrote a 40-page rebuttal, defending the data, attacking the consultant as a Luddite. I spent 3 days writing it, locked in my office, ignoring emails, ignoring Slack. Just writing. I didn't realize that Vector 2 was running on my machine. The executive index I had built. It tracked collaborative velocity and communication frequency. For 3 days I didn't email, didn't Slack, didn't attend meetings. I was just in Word. Vector classified Word as low-value drafting compared to strategic communication. My score started dropping, 94, 82, 65. I didn't notice. I was too focused on saving the system. Monday morning, the automated report went out to the CEO and the board. Subject, weekly low performers, executive tier. My name was at the top. Score 41. Flag, high isolation, low collaborative output, potential quiet quitting. I stared at the email. This is a mistake. I was working harder than anyone. I was saving the company. CEO walked into my office. He had security with him. He held up the report. Your own system flagged you. I tried to explain. I was writing the rebuttal. I was doing deep work. Context matters. CEO looked at me cold. You told us context is an excuse for low performance. You told us if it's not in the data, it didn't happen. Data says you've been idle for 3 days. You're in the red zone. Per your policy, executives in the red zone are immediate termination. We can't have hypocrisy at the top. I felt the room spin. But I built this. I know how it works. It misinterprets solitary focus as idleness. CEO shrugged. Then the system is working as intended. It prioritizes communication. Hand over your badge. Security escorted me out, past the rows of developers. They looked up from their screens. Some of them had tape over their webcams. Kevin, the kid with the scripts, gave me a little wave. He was watching YouTube. His screen showed a Vector score of 98. I stood on the sidewalk with my box of stuff. San Francisco fog rolling in. My phone buzzed. Notification from the company app. Access revoked. Then a LinkedIn notification. Alina, the general counsel, had posted. Proud to announce we are sunsetting the Vector program today. Returning to human-centric management. It got 10,000 likes in an hour. I went home. Wife asked what happened. I told her they fired me because of a glitch. She asked, was it a glitch or was it the rules you wrote? I couldn't answer. Spent the next month spiraling. Checked my bank account. Had plenty of money but felt hollow. Started reading the exit interviews from the people I fired. HR leaked them to me. My old access keys hadn't been fully scrubbed from the backup server. Reading Marcus's interview. I loved this job. I loved the code, but I couldn't breathe. He turned typing into a sport and forgot that we're building a future, not just hitting keys. Reading Lisa's interview. He looked at me like a broken machine because I needed time to think. He killed the creativity in that room. Realized I was the villain, not a misunderstood visionary, just a tyrant with a spreadsheet. 6 months later, got served a lawsuit. Class action from the employees I terminated, claiming wrongful termination. Discrimination Vector was biased against older workers who typed slower and neurodivergent workers who worked in bursts. My name was all over the complaint. Architect of the discriminatory system. Company settled for $12 million. Part of the settlement was a public apology and a clause stating they would never use algorithmic firing again. I was deposed. Lawyer for the plaintiffs asked me, did you ever verify if the metrics correlated with actual business value? I sat there, thinking about the flat revenue, the bugs, the technical debt. I said no, I assumed activity was value. Lawyer nodded. So you fired high-performing humans because they didn't act like robots? Yes. The transcript was leaked. Tech blogs destroyed me. The man who automated his own firing became a pariah in the valley. Couldn't get an interview. Recruiters saw my name and ghosted. Oh, you're the vector guy. Yeah, we value our culture here. 1 year later, started consulting for small manufacturing firms in the Midwest. Old school places, teaching them how to use basic software. One owner asked me about employee tracking. Should we install keyloggers to make sure the guys in the office aren't slacking? I felt a chill, looked at this old guy. I said, no, judge them by what they deliver, not how they deliver it. If you trust them, they'll work. If you track them, they'll hide. He looked surprised. Thought you were a tech guy. I am. That's how I know tech can't measure trust. Wrote a book about the experience. The Metrics Trap, how I destroyed a company with data. It didn't sell well. People don't want to hear about failure. They want to hear about how to 10x productivity. But I get emails sometimes from managers who read it. I was about to buy this surveillance software. Read your book. Decided to talk to my team instead. Thanks. That feels better than a 99 score. Running into Marcus at a coffee shop 3 years later. He looked healthy, happy, working at a nonprofit. He saw me. I braced for him to yell. He just nodded. Heard what happened. Irony is a bitch, isn't it? I said, yeah, you were right, thinking is work. He laughed. Took you a $12 million lawsuit to figure that out. I bought his coffee. He took it. Don't optimize the fun out of it next time, he said. Walked away. I sat there, opened my laptop, start working on a new project. No timer, no tracker, just a blank page. It felt terrifying, and it felt like freedom. Be me 38 now, making half of what I used to, but I sleep at night, and I treat my assistant like a human being. She takes an hour lunch. I don't track it. The work gets done. Who knew? The algorithm was the bug all along.